Well, Christine, thank you so much for joining us today and participating in the show. Really appreciate you making the drive down from Flagstaff. It's kind of hot here in the valley, isn't it?
It's a little bit toasty.
Yeah, especially in here. We're here at Phoenix Beer Company, and they're brewing some beer behind us, and man, this keeps us hot. Well, thanks for joining the show. Christine Ong Cothrun here with me today, going to talk a little bit about her real estate business and career in Arizona. Christine, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Austin, from the peaks of Flagstaff back down to the Valley of the Sun. And yes, it is toasty, but we're enjoying a nice brewski here to keep us cool. So third generation Arizonan, like I mentioned, my family has been in Arizona before Arizona was even a state. You know, just have a true love for my state, my country, and everything that goes along with that.
I love that. And Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and your husband had a business together for quite some time, and then I think this thing called the pandemic happened in 2022, and you guys kind of changed course a little bit. What happened there?
Courses. Well, one thing I love about America, and for all of you who are supporters out there of America's future, I will tell you, in America, anything's possible with grit, guts, and never giving up. And I think it was so easy for so many to want to give up or give up completely. I feel you. For myself, my husband and I, we owned a business that we ran very successfully for well over a decade. And then COVID hit, and we were all stuck at home, and where we at America's Future are supporters of free markets and capitalism and everything that goes along with that. You know, we saw our government, you know, owning nothing but controlling everything, telling us to stay stuck at home, and as opposed to feeling stuck in a rut, decided to reinvent, and through that I found my COVID calling, as I like to call it, in real estate.
That's wonderful. And earlier you were telling me a little bit about your college days. Mm-hmm. You kind of thought you had a career in one industry, and I think that kind of contributes to your real estate business today, but journalism.
Yes.
What turned you on to that idea, and where did you think you were going to go?
Sure. Well, I love, like I said, my community. I just have a knack for connecting with people, and you know, I think our friendship is evidence of that. But you know, I blame all those take your daughter to work days, quite honestly, of both of my parents being bankers, and you know, them accumulating all their years worth of filing for me to, you know, contend with each and every year. So it's funny, I, you know, grew a distaste for numbers. You know, money is one of the biggest reasons that people divorce, and I'll be honest with you, that's one of the big drivers of my parents' divorce. But they were both bankers, and, you know, again, kind of dealing with numbers there. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do whatever I do when I grow up, it's not going to involve numbers. So I studied journalism and became a wordsmith, a linguist. And then just realized, I thought that was my ticket out of Arizona. I thought I'd go explore the world with wonderment and be a wanderer. But then I quickly realized I love my home state. It's called the Grand Canyon State for a reason. And I stayed here and ironically met my husband, and where I had that strong aversion to numbers and math, became a business owner. By accident, I say, but there are no accidents in life. And so we had a private money lending business for well over 10 years, and literally helped build it from, you know, everything that it started as, which my husband started our company with one phone, one computer, and our cute little yellow Labrador, into what it became. And then now we're in this fun phase of transitioning into real estate.
And, you know, the theme there is chasing the American dream. You guys saw an opportunity, you felt the need, and you filled the need in the community, rather, and you build something from the ground up. And there's so many entrepreneurs in America right now who are starting those companies in their garages, in their living rooms. Some have a flat, and so they're starting it in their bathroom, their living room, and their bedroom all at the same time. And with you guys, 10 years, that is a lot of experience as company owners. You know, what challenges did you and your husband face along the way? And more particularly, during those last few years, you know, you guys sort of thinking about an exit plan, what happened then?
Sure. Well, first of all, being a business owner does not come with a manual. So you learn a lot by doing, and I know one of the big pillars of America's future is being active. And so I think, looking at what some might deem as failure, more so as feedback, making fast, quick adjustments. You're married as well, and marriage is not always easy, and marriage and business is not always easy, but when you're in, you're married to your partner and married in business, I think an incredible amount of forgiveness is key also.
I would think so, because
yeah.
I love my wife, and us working in business sometimes, you can butt heads, and that's a whole other risk people make as well, and it's something that actually a lot of people who have come on the show have not really spoken to. I'd love to hear your take, is working with your partner in life and in business as well. What challenges did you guys encounter? There had to be disagreements along the way,
Sure.
but you obviously resolved them.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that?
I think, looking at love, and it can be a love from a parent to a child, or spouse to a spouse, or business partner to a business partner, as a decision and not a feeling. Maintaining our mutual focus. So although, as individuals, we're all wholly unique in how we think and how we approach things, but being able to bridge, different perspectives, different approaches and beliefs into what ultimately was the best decision in that moment was key. That's number one. Number two, over the years, I have learned the importance of staying in your lane. So again, we all are different, and we all carry with that different strengths. So for myself, my strength became operations. And for my husband, more of the, CFO type role. So really learning those division of labor tasks and trust.
Yeah.
Trust is important too. So knowing that the other is doing what, needs to be done, and letting go.
Well, I hope you write a book someday on spousal business partners, because, that's a phenomenal story. You guys, your quote of staying in your own lane, rather. In so many other business infrastructures, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yep.
You have one guy doing this, you have another doing this, and oftentimes there's so much butting of heads that the company is essentially disintegrates because people can't get along. And with spouses, that trust, that foundation of trust you have, that's vital to the production of what you're doing, and also expanding the business. You guys started with the two of you and your dog, and you grew it into a successful company that you later then exited. And then you started a new journey on your own in real estate.
In real estate.
And I believe you work with a very popular real estate agent right now, Tariq.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about him and your guys' partnership.
Yes, so we built a business, right? But it wasn't always successful. We started somewhere. We started early and we started small. But around the time we started and built our business, Brendan and I, my husband and I, we also had, it goes back even farther than just COVID, we had an opportunity to invest in a real estate company called EXP when it was an LLC. And we had an opportunity to invest in EXP Realty. We knew the founder, Glenn Sanford, and he said, Brendan, Christine, I really want to start a cloud-based real estate brokerage. And we said, Glenn, and he asked us to invest in, and we said, Glenn, we'd love to invest in your business, but we've got to first invest in ours. So that was over 12 years ago. Flash forward, EXP is now publicly traded. So talk about the American dream manifested.
Absolutely.
Glenn Sanford, who's the co-founder in front of ours, is now worth $3 billion. Started from nothing and grew it to everything it is today. And now there's 60,000 agents at EXP Realty.
Wow.
So when I started my COVID calling, again, starting to sell homes to get out of the stay-at-home orders, I, entered, the field going from maximum title loans, our former company, to making maximum impact in the real estate profession. And within 7 months, I rose to be in the top 2% of real estate agents in 2020, and got a call one day from EXP, and actually it was Sharon Lechter, the co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, if anyone out there has read that book.
Absolutely.
That called me, and Tarek El Moussa, which if you've seen HGTV's Flip or Flop, came out, and let's just say the rest is history in the making. Now I have these incredible partners in this incredible industry, and we're making incredible impact.
Well, congratulations, Christine.
Thank you.
That's a huge triumphant accomplishment there. I also want to know, there's got to be a story that drives you. You know, so many entrepreneurs, they have an origin story. They started somewhere. They learned from a parent, maybe a grandparent, or maybe it was your marriage that empowered you to do this. But is there an origin story for Christine that really helped fuel this drive you have to be, you know, I'm going to call you a serial entrepreneur because you're starting new companies every 10 years.
Yeah.
So do you have one of those stories?
I do. So on my dad's side, I'm second generation Chinese American, and my grandfather and grandmother married when they were 16 years old, pre-arranged marriage. And then my grandfather at 16 years old hopped on a plane and came to Phoenix, Arizona, actually a mile and a half from where we are right now.
Really?
18th Street in Van Buren. And there he would, you know, work in a grocery store, slept in the back on cardboard boxes, and about 20 some odd years later sent for my grandmother in China and brought her over. So when I think about America, when I think about freedom, it's living without constraint, it's having free will, it's being able to, you know, start somewhere and go wherever you want to go, and that's, you know, what my grandfather did. And it came, you know, with great sacrifice, high level of commitment, hard work, and an incredible heart.
Absolutely, and he did it.
He did it.
I mean, and what an incredible story. I mean, you hear so many times now people starting from scratch and the lowest of lows, and they become something. And I'm sure he's very proud of his granddaughter today, seeing all that you've accomplished. And that's another important aspect, and why we're hosting the show is to demonstrate that no matter where you come from, whatever walk of life you have, there is an opportunity. The free market exists for healthy competition amongst business owners and professionals. And you're a spinning image of that, Christine. That's why we have you on.
Thanks.
And
As are you, by the way.
thank you very much for that. But I'd like to know, you know, your grandfather, what did he tell you going down some of these new paths that you ventured? You know, did he say, go for it, Christine, make that risk? Kind of give me a little insight in what your grandfather said.
So interestingly enough, I was about 4 years old when my grandfather passed away, so didn't have incredibly mature interactions with him. And I think that when we all look at how we all have an immigrant story, whether it's our own or prior generations, I think it's important and wholly American to remember our roots, and remember that if it wasn't you and I that came here from some faraway place making incredible sacrifice, it was someone. So interestingly enough, did not know my grandfather very well, but my grandmother took great care of me and my brother as kids, since both my parents worked. And she was a tough, let me tell you, she was a pistol. She was about 4'9", but she was so tough. Now, mind you, she never learned English, so she moved here in the 40s, but never learned English. So I learned a bit of Chinese to be able to communicate with her. And again, I think that that's what's so beautiful about America, is we all come from somewhere, but we're all part of this incredible red, white, and blue fabric.
So, Christine, you mentioned your grandmother only spoke Chinese. You know, America is often referred to as the melting pot of the globe. There's so many bilingual speakers now. I know some of my cousins are speaking English, Spanish, and now Mandarin. And it's phenomenal that they're all 13 and taking on so many languages, which I think is a big thing a lot of young entrepreneurs are starting to do. Did you feel a need to learn another language as you were growing up, and now that you're an entrepreneur, is there a need for that today?
You know, I think the thing that unites all Americans, even if they speak different languages, is that we are that melting pot. So I never quite felt that need to learn another language. And I think, you know, to be wholly honest, I think seeing my grandmother struggle because she never learned English as the common language precluded her from being able to do simple things like go to the grocery store. She never learned how to drive. You know, and she could never go to medical appointments without someone there to translate on her behalf. So it's funny, growing up, she would always say, "Ni gong hong wa," you know, you speak Chinese at home. And I thought to myself, you know, I really want to speak English in the home, but because I love Grandma, I learned a bit of Chinese and spoke that when I was in the home with her. But you know, I think in America, you know, English is, you know, the common language.
Yeah.
So I, you know, never
It's
really
almost a barrier,
felt that need.
you would say, if you're not speaking English in America today.
But you know what's funny, actually? So my mom's side of the family, my my grandmother had 9 brothers and sisters, so there are 10 total. And her family owned a grocery store in Tucson, Arizona. And the whole family, ironically, learned Spanish and knew more Spanish than Chinese because their clientele down in southern
Hispanic business owners.
So they had to adapt. So I think, you know, more than anything, it's important to adapt. And I love that these young kids are, you know, learning all these languages and outsmarting us at 13 years old.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, very much the American way, and it's important to, you know, be a constant student of life. So
No, absolutely.
I might go learn a new language after this.
Yeah, I think I might too. I think about it all the time. And
Yeah.
I think it's something entrepreneurs should consider, depending on the line of work you're going in, especially on a global perspective. You know, people who want to work in other countries, you should know the local tongue, so to say, if you're going to go and do business there. Switching gears a little bit, Christine, the real estate market right now is absolutely booming. I mean, I don't know if it's inflation or just rising popularity of homes throughout the state of Arizona and in other regions around the country. What are you seeing in the market right now, and how are your clients responding? Are they doing more investment properties, or are they taking the road of, I want a second home or I want a bigger home?
So I think with what's going on in the market, I think first of all with COVID, we were all at home more, so it really made, and that's when I started selling real estate, so it really made people evaluate their home situation, because what does the home represent? It represents security, stability, and success. And we were also spending less time outside of our homes. So what I saw is, because of the market, because of housing prices increasing so much, especially in Maricopa County, fastest growing county in the nation for many years in a row, is that people were using, they were transferring their equity. So looking at their current home situation, seeing that they were home more, and taking that equity and putting it into another home that maybe they couldn't have afforded without the prices being what they are. Yeah. Interestingly enough, during COVID in 2020, there were 66% of Americans that owned a home, the most ever, and 89% of those were first-time home buyers.
Wow.
So that's interesting. And you know, what's also interesting is that, and I think COVID probably played into a lot of that, but what's also interesting is over the years, because I'm actually a millennial, as I know you are too, and in 2018, 71% of millennials said that owning a home was an important part of the American dream, but in 2020, only 57% of millennials said that. So,
and why do you think that is?
You know, I think it's probably a combination of a number of factors. You know, first off, student loan debt, you know, putting off purchasing a home because of debt, putting off also getting married, having kids. I find that millennials tend to care more about experiences over possessions. But, you know, I think the American dream of owning a home, and owning a home is a very American ideal. Over 45% of wealth in America stems from owner-occupied homes. So people's homes are part of their wealth. And I think it's a very American thing to own a home, so it'll be interesting to see how those
kind of the
dynamics
trajectory
shift.
goes, because America is one of, I'm going to say, few countries right now in the globe where you can still buy a house.
Yeah.
And you have the freedom to do so, which is another unique aspect of the United States. Christine, becoming a real estate agent, obviously there's a lot of work and prep and study efforts that go into that. Did you have your license pre-pandemic, or did you earn it during?
I did. So I had my license since 2017 for our own investments, and just kind of kept it on the shelf. And you might call it an unrequited love, a love that I had never experienced but always wanted to have and have a foray with. And I really look at being a real estate agent as a vehicle for what I really love, which is promoting faith, family, and freedom causes. And in fact, that's how I built this business, being wholly authentic to my American loving self, is donating to such causes. And I find that people really embrace fellow freedom lovers in this cancel culture sort of world that we're living in. And so, I was a quick study. I mean, obviously, to be successful, you have to put in the time, dedication, and hours to do so. But I look at it more as not so much selling homes, which, yes, that's what I do. That's the transactional part. But it's servicing the community. So it's just another extension of what I love about, being American and giving back to America. And real estate just happens to be my vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost part of your brand, because you're
Yes.
selling homes, but you're giving back the proceeds that you're earning, which I think is phenomenal. And I commend you on your philanthropy in doing so. Becoming a real estate agent, Christine, what does that take? I know a lot of people who are probably tuning in today have the question of, what do I need to do to become a real estate agent? Is it taking a test, studying, passing, and then I get to put a for sale sign up in front of somebody's house? Or kind of give me an idea of
Sure.
what is that timeline and process?
Sure. So there is a test that goes along with it. So it's 90 hours of testing. And just quick story about that. You asked about when I got my real estate license. I initially did a 9-day crash course, less 1 day, back in 2009, missed that 1 day, and came back to it over a year later. And the Arizona School of Business and Real Estate said, you're gonna have to start all over. So for all of you watching out there, it's never too late to chase your dreams and reinvent. And, if there's something that you want to do and haven't done, go and do it.
Yeah.
It's all possible. So I had to take those classes all over again. That was 2017. My husband and I are also real estate investors. So, there's nothing better probably than learning a trade for your own personal use. And then, for myself, just then in the last year, being able to parlay that knowledge to helping others.
Well, Christine, a lot of great insight about real estate today, and learning a lot more about your story and transition to a new business. One thing I ask everybody that comes on the show is a question that could be pretty simple, or to some it might be really complicated. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom to me means free will to choose, to make your own choices. Freedom to me means being able to live without obstacle, without restriction. Freedom to me means being able to do whatever you like to do and hopefully have great impact in doing it.
That's wonderful. And Christine, for those tuning into us today, where can they find you if they need to sell a house?
Sure. You can call me, 602-677-5411.
Love that. Well, Christine, thank you so much for being with us today. And to everybody tuning in, I'm Austin Jack with Brewing Business. Thanks for joining us.